Hi, and welcome to Prepping Essentials. Good morning, it's 6 o'clock on Sunday the 18th of April. Just making my way down to the land, and as always, not quite sure what we're going to get done today, but let's find out. Well, here we are down on the land, and you can probably see it's another very cold day. Field is white over with frost again. Sun is trying to break out, bit of an orange glow in the sky there, but it's still very cool this morning. Got quite a bit done yesterday, but there's still an awful lot to do this morning with the Bee Hive construction, so I need to get a bit of an early start and get cracked on with that. But as always, I'll keep you up to date with progress as we go through the day. Well, as usual, first things first, let's have a little quick look and see what we've got going on in here. Surprises me how warm this is in here. Yeah, nothing hiding in the nest boxes. Yeah, need to top the water up today. I meant to do that yesterday and I didn't, I failed. A little wander around the outside. Morning chicks, how are we this morning? How are we doing? Yesterday and today I noticed in this corner there's a couple of pheasants hanging around. Don't know if they're attracted because there's grain in the chicken coop, or whether it's the chickens that they like, I don't know. But they were hanging around. Somebody mentioned carrots in one of the comments. They don't seem to have done much with them. I saw the cockerel pecking away yesterday. So maybe carrots is not the thing for chickens. or am I just being particular about what they want to eat? I don't know. Still no signs of anything digging around the coop or the pen, which is good. Or this raised bed area, so that's also good. No sign of those seeds coming through yet, but given the temperatures this last week, I'm not surprised. Yeah, it is still very cold. You can see the white. Anyway, I'm going to get the cabin heated through, kettle on. I've got that big task of the beehives to finish off this morning. Well, I say morning. Who knows how long that's going to take. But yeah, first things first, get a warm up and get a drink. Well, that's the fire going. Very nice to see. So hopefully that'll warm the cabin up over the next half hour or so while I get myself a coffee. Well, good morning, Sunday morning. A cold Sunday morning. Got the fire going and I've got my cup of coffee. So hopefully I'll soon get warmed up. Hope you're all doing well wherever you are and enjoying your weekend despite the cold. How is it everywhere else? A few people in different parts of the world have commented that they've also had a little bit of weird weather, or unseasonable, shall we say, weather, and it's been colder than they thought it might be. It certainly has here this last few weeks. We do normally get frost through to certainly March and occasionally into April. We did last year, but it has been a fairly prolonged spell. And as somebody else mentioned in the comments, unusual that we've not had rain. There's been the odd little spit here and there, but not the traditional spring rain that you normally get. So I guess we'll see what happens as we go through into April, May and beyond. I'm conscious that there's lots of steam coming off here, but that's because it's bloody cold. I am waiting for that sun to get over the tree, but unlike yesterday, it seems to be taking its time today. I hope it is going to warm up. Done a few little jobs this morning already. Been and done my duties with the chickens. Topped up the grain and the water, and make sure that they're okay, because it is back to work again tomorrow. So I'll only be popping in a couple of times during the week. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, actually, in terms of keeping on top of food and water for the chickens. I still do need to sort out the roosting perch and the top boxes where I've got some storage. Try and stop them going up into that area. Had a bit of a clear out and added the first batch of fresh chicken manure to the compost pile. Not much in the compost pile because we've not started cutting the grass yet, but looking at it, I think it's only a matter of time. But I do need to get this frost out the way first before I start cutting that. Bit of a crazy day yesterday. I don't know if you got my sentiments through the video. I was just seemed to be constantly battling time yesterday, and although there was a lot done, I mean, the bed cum bench in the old cabin was a really good bit of progress. It's something that's been wanting doing for ages, but with one thing and another, I just didn't have the time or the materials to do it. So really pleased I got that done. It's amazing what you can do with a bit of recycled wood, and it's something that hopefully is just a one-time thing, hoping that that'll last now for a fair few years and get us to our next stage of development on the land. But I'm getting ahead of myself again, as I always do. Also made some fairly decent progress with the beehive yesterday. Got the floor, the roof and the intermediary boxes done. Was a bit of a fiddle and a couple of casualties in terms of fingers. But the really fiddly bit, quite worryingly, is yet to come as I make the individual frames to go inside the hive. I'm looking at them now. They're stacked on top of the hive behind the camera. They are very small, very fiddly. When it comes to construction, I'm used to big hammers, big nails, big screws, and we're talking about very small component parts here with very small nails. There were a few yesterday when I was doing the framing for the boxes, which is why the fingers got as squashed as they did, because some of the rails on the inside of those boxes, the nails are microscopic. They're like really tiny panel pin things, and trying to get them into my fingers and then get the hammer, which is alright, it's not a huge hammer, but it's big enough. It's way too big for the pins. You really want a very small sort of picture framer type hammer for that kind of work. And surprise, surprise, I don't have one of those. So I'll be using the workbench in the cabin today to set about those frames. I'll try to video as much as I can of that, but it's a bit like yesterday. It's difficult at times particularly in the cabin when you're doing things like small scale construction. I'm using up a lot of the floor space, and a lot of the time you put the camera on the tripod and you can't see what I'm actually doing anyway, because I'm kind of covering up the work with my body. But I will make an effort to try and get some decent video of these frames, just so you can see how they go together, and you can share the pain as I'm trying to nail these things and glue them together. But it's all for the greater good. I really do want to get that finished this weekend, so that it's ready for when I actually get the bees on the field. I still have the dilemma of trying to figure out where to put the hive. I do get a lot of sun on the field, but it tends to be from sort of lunchtime, 12 o'clock onwards, by the time it's broken out over the little woodland that runs along the boundary. And I don't want the hive in full sun all day, it'll just overheat. So ideally I want good sun in the morning, and then by lunchtime, when it gets to its peak, kind of partial shade. And I've yet to find somewhere that does that. I was toying with the idea of putting it out to the side of the polytunnel, just past where the wood pile is right now. There's a bit of a dog leg where the drainage ditch comes across and then shoots away from the field. And I have planted some privet, some hawthorn, and some hazelnut. I was struggling there for what it was. Little saplings in there, but they're not really going to give it shade, not for a few years anyway. So the search continues for the ideal location. I do still have a few weeks left yet. The chap that I'm getting the bees from, Simon, hi Simon, he won't be ready for a few weeks yet. He's actually splitting off one of his hives so that I can get started with mine, and we're thinking probably middle of May now, particularly with this cold weather we've had this last few weeks. It's kind of slowed everything down. So I do have a bit of time, so as long as the hive is finished construction wise, I can ponder at my leisure as to where the right location will be for putting out the hive. Other than that, I'm still in two minds as to what to do with those swede plants that have grown on in the polytunnel. Do I put them out? Do I not put them out? The forecast is really vague. I've noticed a few times it's predicted no frost, and yet suddenly we've had it. So I'm in two minds as to what to do with that. But as always, I'll keep you posted as we go through the day with what it is that I'm up to. But for now, I need to get this coffee down me and make a start. I want to get cracking with this hive construction, just to be absolutely sure it is finished before I need to leave today. So I'll catch up with you later. Well, that's the beehive I was busy constructing yesterday. You've got the bottom board, a brood box, two super boxes, and then the lid. And there's a load of inner frame components on the top there. But I've just pulled out the super frames, which are the ones that go in the top boxes, and you can see we've got loads of these individual little pieces, millions and millions of them out on the workbench. These are the microscopic nails that are used, so we can get some decent light. I mean, they're tiny little things. And essentially what you do is you make a box frame out of these pieces. So you've got some sides and some tops and some bottoms, into which the frame, once it's completed, sit these wax starter sheets. These are the little sheets that the bees use to store the pollen, the nectar, the honey, and indeed the baby bees when they lay their eggs. So as you can see, there's a lot to go at here. I will try and do some decent video as I assemble these individual frames. There are loads of them. There's 10 in each of the 2 super boxes, and there's 11 in the bigger brood box, the bottom box. But wish me luck as I set about this, and I'll try and capture some decent video for you today as I do this. Okay, hopefully you can see this on the video. I'm about to start constructing the actual frames that sit inside one of the super boxes on the top of the hive. There are 10 of these frames inside each of those 2 top super boxes on the hive, and essentially they're made out of lots of little different components. We've got a top bar that hangs the frame inside the box itself. It just slots into one of those runners that you saw me constructing yesterday, and going down from that top bar we've got 2 side bars, and then we've got 2 bottom bars, and into this frame slots the little wax sheet. So essentially it looks like that once it's completed. Very fiddly. Got to get to grips with this first one. As you saw earlier, these nails are microscopic, so I suspect there'll be a bit more finger bashing as I try and drive these in. But we're ready to start the first one, and I'll keep you posted as I go through the build. Okay, bear with me with this. This top bar, there's a little strip. Now it is actually attached, and what you have to do is actually prise it off and break the seal, and then with a little knife just run down and clear out the little lip that's left when you break this bar off. Take our side pieces. Now they are a tight fit. Got to be really careful with this, and just ease it into that joint. You'll notice that there is a runner, a groove cut out, which will hold that wax frame. So on both sides it's literally just tapping these into place to build the side of the frame. It is a very tight fit, which is a bit nerve-wracking because this wood on the bottom has a little mortise and tenon cut out. So as I tap them in, I am really nervous about breaking that top bit. So bear with me till I get these sides in, and then we'll move on to the next bit. Well, that's the sides in. They are going to want pinning on this on the ends just to hold them in place, but I'm tempted to get the bottom runners in. Again, they're all pre-cut, but again they are a tight fit, so it is going to take a little bit of just gentle persuasion with the hammer just to get those in, and of course to get them lined up because they need to be a flush fit. Well, there's one in. And again, they just want lining up flush. I can maybe use the edge of the workbench. Oh dear. Nervous of this, but they're flush now, so that's good. And the idea is that these wax sheets slide into the groove, so between the two bottom bars, because this is upside down right now, slide them gently in, and then as you lower them into place, I don't know if you'll see on the camera, there's two little wire or three little wire strips that go through that beeswax sheet, and as you drop them down, you've got to ease those over that lip at the bottom, and then, as if it wasn't fiddly enough, you just need to bend those wire strips slightly up, because they're going to get nailed into place. And just being careful not to wreck this wax sheet. I'm sure it'll get easier the more I do. And then just drop it into place. So you can see that those little wire, I'm hoping you can see this on the video, turn themselves at a 90-degree angle, right angle. So you've got the sheet coming straight down, bend the wire over so it sits on the actual frame itself, and they will get nailed through the bar that we broke off earlier. That just drops back on and nail through to catch those three little wires. Extremely fiddly, but steady away and we'll get it done. So I'm just going to nail this frame together and you'll see the finished item in a minute. This is very nerve-wracking because of the size of the hammer. I'm very nervous of hitting this wax screen as I drive these nails in. They also need to go at a little bit of an angle to make sure you don't come out the bottom, because they are, although they're small nails, they are almost the exact length to just protrude out of the bottom of the frame. So very time consuming, and with it being the first one, of course, I am a bit nervous. But we're getting there. So that's our nails into there. I just need to, now I've got that in place, just pop a couple of pins to hold these side frames in place. Lots of nails. So I'll get some of those popped in now, and you can see, hopefully fairly shortly, the finished item. Lots of geese flying around today. Don't know what the big attraction is. So there we go, our first frame, which just sits inside the hive like that. So one down. I've got 20 more, sorry, I've got 19 more of these to do and 11 of the bigger ones, so wish me luck. I've just taken the roof off the hive so you can see how this frame goes in. So that's a frame that we've just constructed for one of these top or super boxes that I made yesterday. You remember that there's that sort of castellation bar. That's a posh word, isn't it? Looks like the top of a castle. It's got grooves slotted into it. So we take the wax frame, it literally drops into the top and it just nests itself inside that little castellation bar there, which in theory spaces them out all the way along the box. So that's the first one in. As I said, there are 2 super boxes, 10 each, so that's 20 of those small frames. And then down in the bottom, down here, is the brood box, which is the bigger box. It's a slightly different setup for some reason. It doesn't have these castellation bars, it has a metal runner, so I'm not entirely sure why there's a difference, but there is, just as if it wasn't complicated enough. So we've got another 19 of those small ones to do. This is extremely fiddly, and there's always the danger, if you're not careful, of these joints splitting. So I am having to be really cautious with this as I go along. And it doesn't help that because they're so small, some of them are a very tight fit, whereas others, like that one there, you can see the wood's actually warped. It bends up. I think I'm tempted, because of that warping, to just swap it round so that it drops down now. Bit more support for that wax frame. So very time consuming. Yeah, that one's the same actually. It's also a little bit warped. Well, it's warped in all directions. I know I might sound like I'm complaining, but actually I'm not. It is therapeutic once you get over the nervousness, which, to be fair, I haven't entirely. But we are getting there. That's a bit loose, that one. That top one there. I'll make sure that when I nail this, I capture that one rather than the one that's a nice snug fit. Yeah, I'll just have to remember which one it is and make sure that I get that loose one caught with the nail. In fact, I think we'll do that now. I've got to be really careful because bear in mind there's a groove behind here where the wax sheet fits in. So I'm having to be careful not to drive the nail through that groove where the wax sits. And also, I'm really conscious of splitting the wood. These are very, very, there's no tolerance really. The nail sits right in the centre and you can't go too far down. You've got to catch this bar. So there's the danger of that piece splitting and this piece splitting. It's a ruddy nightmare, to be honest. But just be careful with that one. It's going off at a bit of an angle. Oh dear. May as well do these while we're on. And then we'll get that wax frame in. In all honesty, I don't know how much of this kind of construction you want to see when I'm doing these videos. I don't want to kind of bore you to death while I'm doing it. You'll have to let me know in the comments section. Oh, this one doesn't want to go in. Whether you want to see just the finished article or whether you are actually interested. Why is that not going? And there's a little bit of wood splinter just catching in that groove. Yeah, whether you want to see the whole agonising process or whether you just want to see me produce the finished article, you'll have to let me know in the comments section. Anyway, let me get cracked on with this and I'll come back to you shortly. This is a fiddle getting these little wires bent over on the bottom of the wax sheet. It's like everything's designed to give you that little bit more frustration. Anyway, it's in there as you can see. So I'll get that little bottom bar put back, nail this through, and that's another one done. Well, bit of a surprise visit. A couple of extra pallets have turned up, but more importantly, my boy Sean has decided he wants a couple of chickens. So I'm just going to pop back to his van and see what he's actually got, because he's called in at the chicken breeder on the way, so you might be seeing some more chickens in a minute. What you got? We've got a mystery box. Let's go and have a look and see what's in them. Well, what have we got here? Cockerel's already on the job. Unbelievable. There we go. 2 additions to the little chickie family. Now then, what's going to happen now? It's all gone quiet. Cockerel doesn't quite know what he's doing. Oh dear. Right, we'll leave these to get settled down and quieten down, and we'll pay them a visit later. But 2 additions. Well, it seems to have taken forever, but that's the first box done. With 10 of the frames in. So it's slow progress, but it is progress. So I'll move that one out the way and start the second one. So there we go. That's the second frame, super frame, completed. So bargain. All that remains now is to fill the bottom box, but they're slightly different, so I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so we're starting on the brood box frames. Now you might notice that these look different to the super frames. Same principle, top bar, side bars and 2 bottom bars, but these have got a chamfer on one end and a flat on the other end where it goes into the top bar, and then they just taper off. The idea of these is to create the correct spacing, and what you have to remember is, which looking at it for the first time, it wasn't obvious, you have a curved beveled edge upwards on one side and then the curved bevel edge downwards on the other side, so a little bit tricky. Anyway, same principle as before, we just break off this top bar, split it off, and then just run down to trim off the little slither from the frame top bar itself. Make sure it's nice and smooth. Which it is. And then again, a little bit of persuasion to get these side rails on. It's going to need a little bit of a tap, I think. That's better. Some of these really are tight, and others are actually quite loose. But we're on, I'm content with that. Bottom rails drop in. Again, some are nice and tight and some are a little bit loose, but we're going to be nailing these, so it's okay. So I'll quickly run round this and nail it up. Different to the other ones, the super frames, the nails came in from the side, whereas on these they're coming in from the top. Don't know why that is, no clue. I'm just doing it the same way as the manufacturer says. So anybody knows why it is, feel free to comment. And then we just need a couple securing this top rail of the frame. We've got a flat edge that's beveled, turn it over, beveled, flat, so we can only nail in one part, which is the flat end. So that's the frame assembled. All we need to do now is, again, easier said than done, drop in the wax sheet, same as we did on the super frames, except you'll probably notice that these are a lot bigger than the super frames. And then just bend over the little wire at the bottom of the wax sheet, 90-degree angle, so it fits flush with the bottom on the rail, across there. The piece we snapped out simply goes back in. Say simply. That's only because I've been doing it for pretty much all morning. Oops. And then we're just nailing that into place. If we can catch those little wires as we nail through. Might notice I'm going a little bit quicker than I was yesterday, and indeed a lot quicker than I was this morning. But you do get a little bit nervous of hitting this wax with such a big hammer. But I think I've done enough now that I'm starting to get the knack. You watch, I'll put the hammer through it now. And that's it, that's the frame assembled, ready to go into the hive. Well, that's our brood box. There's 10 frames there. There's the last one just going in, and you can see bevel goes against the flat, bevel in the opposite direction going against the flat. Now I'm not entirely sure why this doesn't fill the entire box, because if I jiggle these around, it's almost as if there should be another frame in there. I don't know. Again, if anybody does, let me know. But that's 11 in there, which is what came, and the others have got 10 in, which is what came, so I'm guessing that's it. So that's the bottom box done, the brew box. Threw it all together into a solid hive, and we're ready for some bees. But clearly we've got a couple of weeks to wait yet, so I better figure out where the hive's going to go. So now it's all done, quick little assembly. So that's the floor with the entrance for the bees to go in. Then on top of that goes that brood box with those 11 bigger frames inside. On top of that, this wire mesh sheet, which is supposed to keep the queen in the bottom box, but allow the little drone bees to pop through into these super boxes, the top ones. They're the ones that have got the 10 sheets in, and the smaller sized little frames. I've actually got 2 of these on this hive. And then on top of that, another little box lid with two little escapes at the top, and then finally the roof, which just drops over the top itself. And there's our hive ready for some bees. And to be honest, I can't wait. But I need to wander around the field now and figure out where that's going to go. I'll also want some blocks, breeze blocks or something across the bottom, just to lift it about 8 inches off the cold, wet ground. So there we go. Mission accomplished, finally. Well, it's bite the bullet time. Take a little bit of a gamble with these Swedes. It's not forecasting frost in the week, so I think if I get them in this bed, I'll need to just chuck a bit more compost in to raise the level a little bit. But I think it's time to get these out, so fingers crossed that the gamble pays off. Well, that's not a bad route on there. Let's get them stuck in. Didn't want to come out that one. Well, there's the first row in, so we'll just repeat until I run out of plants or run out of space in the bed. Well, that's the Swede planted out, so we've got 32, which is a lot, in that bed. They just need a really good watering in now, because that compost was quite dry under there. So I'll get that done and we can get them covered over. Don't know if you can see that temperature, but that's sitting at 37, almost 38. I'm just topping up the watering can and the containers for the polytunnel. Be nice to get some rain. I'll whiz round with you in a second once I finish watering, and we'll just have a quick look at what's happening in the garden room and the polytunnel. Not much change from yesterday, but I'll show you anyway. I'll just finish filling these water cans up. I've just run round and watered all of the barrels and these 2 raised beds. We'll see how we get on with this Swede during the week. I'm hoping it's not an open buffet invitation for the rabbits tonight and tomorrow. I guess we'll see in due course. Polytunnel's pretty much as it was really yesterday. I've just run round and watered in here. Potatoes are making a comeback, which is good. I was a bit worried that they might not. Everything else is pretty healthy, to be fair, including those little tree cuttings that I took. They seem to be holding their own. There's the odd one that's a bit droopy, but can't complain really. I reckon we're going to get some berries on this very shortly, on this blueberry bush. The amount of flowers it's put out is phenomenal. And to be fair, the figures as well down here. Some nice new growth coming out the bottom. Strawberries are strawberries. They need potting out into a bed of some description. I'll not get that done today because time's, as usual, time's flown by. Distinct lack of swede in here now. I've got 5 little straggly seedlings left. But yeah, everything's coming on well, to be fair, despite the best efforts of the frost. So I'll quickly pop out into the garden room. You can take a little look in there, and it'll be time for going. Oh, garden room pretty much as it was yesterday. Marigolds, very nice. True potato seeds, I reckon maybe another week and I can put those in bigger pots. They'll have a decent root ball. Still no sign of those bloody peas. Tomato, cucumber, too early. They've not been in long enough really to see anything there. Broccoli's gone completely crazy. They're going to need potting on soon. And that borage, looking very good. I'm going to bite the bullet, I think, next weekend with these cabbage and cauliflower. Get the good ones out and reseed the rest. Carrots, the 2 buckets there, if you'll see that in this light, millions and millions of them. It's crackers when you compare it to the first 2 buckets with a few strays in, and still too early for these others to come through yet. So that's that, planting. Time to get packed up, I think, and get this video uploaded. Well, we think the suspect for the egg is one of these new ones, rather than one of the younger, because they are a bit 2 weeks older, I think, than the grey ones. So we think it's one of those rather than the greys. Will we ever know for sure? Well, it's another day. Weekend just whizzes by. Everything's locked up. Watered those beds outside the chicken coop. Hopefully we'll start getting some food grown in there for them. Sun is scorching hot, really scorching. Temperature's just gone crazy as the day has gone by. But anyway, that's it for another weekend. I'll get home, get the video uploaded, and I'll catch you all in the next one. You'll have to forgive the background noise, I'm afraid. I've got my cabin clothes in the washing machine. Just got back from the cabin. Recognise this? Yep, it's the first egg, so I thought I'd share this with you. Just drop that into there. I've got a slice of toast going in the toaster, so I have to keep my eye on that as well. Bit of multitasking going on. That's the toast done. We're about ready for a flip. Can I do this without breaking the yolk? Hopefully. So far so good. And we're about there, I think. Bit of excitement, the first egg. How nice. And there we go, we're done. So, the very first egg from the field. If you can see that or not. But I'm going to tuck into it now. Bon appetit. Well, that's it for this video. I hope there was something in there that was of interest to you. If you did like the video, please do click on the like button. Also feel free to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already done so. As always, welcome any comments, questions or suggestions you might have. What a day of surprises, eh? First of all, we get 2 new chickens that I had no idea were coming. And then just as I'm about to leave, we actually get the first egg from those new chickens. Bit strange because they're only a couple of weeks older than the original bluebell ones, but a very welcome surprise. Don't know about you, have you got any chickens or any other wildlife for that matter? Have you thought about bees? And what do you think about me planting out those swede seedlings into the raised beds? I am very nervous about those, but they do really need to go out and to free up some space to get some more stuff going. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. But for now, thanks for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.